Good afternoon, friends. My name is Rohan Botre, and I have secured a rank of 187 in Civil Services Exams 2015. My optional subject was Public Administration, and I'm going to discuss the general strategy for prelims, mains, and interviews today. First of all, let me start with the prelims, and let me first tell that it is not a strategy. These are the general tips that the aspirants need to follow for clearing these exams. There is a kind of hype that has been created for this exam, but if consistency and planning is maintained, a strategic approach is maintained, the exam can be cleared in a very easy manner. Let us start with the prelims. First of all, wide coverage of the syllabus is extremely important for the prelims. If you are considering the prelims paper, it consists of 200 marks of general studies and 200 marks of CSAT. But for general studies, the marks are considered, and for CSAT, there is only a cutoff that needs to be cleared. It is just qualifying, and 66 marks are to be scored in the exam. So, as we know that the exam is out of 200, the marks which are to be considered, there is a huge amount of competition, first of all, in the exam, and almost 5 to 6 lakh people appear for the exam. So, we need to have a much more strategic approach for clearing the prelims, which is considered to be the gate for the civil services. So, first tip for the aspirants is the wide coverage of the syllabus. You need to practice a large number of questions, a maximum amount of questions for the prelims exam. What I did for 2015, as I did not clear the 2014 prelims, was I practiced at least 1200 questions for a prelims exam. I studied their solutions in detail after completing the entire syllabus of prelims. What I've seen from while interacting with many of the aspirants is that people do not focus much on environment and culture, and this is considered to be the most important part in today's prelims exam, because IFS, the forest exams are also combined now with the civil services exam. So we need to focus highly upon the environment aspect and the culture aspect of the prelims exam, because a large number of questions do come from this part. So if this part is prepared very well and in detail, and if you get a large number of questions correct in this part, your chances of clearing the prelims is very high. Now, the most important things in prelim as well as in mains that I always tell the aspirants is you need to focus on a single source of material. Do not multiply your sources. For example, if you are reading history, you need to focus upon a single source. For example, I used Spectrum for modern history, and if you multiply the sources, it doesn't help. But if you read a single source for a number of times again and again, it will help you even in answer writing in your mains exam. So the most important thing is to focus on a single source and not to multiply your sources. Now, talking about the mains exam, my optional subject was public administration. I have discussed the strategy of public administration on various platforms. I would like to discuss it once again. I did not do any classes for public administration. I did it by myself entirely. The most important thing is to multiply your sources in optional subject. You need to restrict your sources for GS, but you need to multiply your sources for optional subject. For example, if you are studying a topic named right to information, you need to do it from at least 2 to 3 sources. You need to use that material, put it on a piece of paper and jot down your notes and revise those notes again and again till the exam gets over. So, understanding of the question in public administration has become a most important challenge, because if we consider the trend of public administration for the past 3 to 4 years, it can be seen that understanding of the question has become a major issue with respect to public administration. So when we read from number of sources and when we jot down our notes, when we understand those notes clearly and very precisely, the breaking down of question, understanding the question also becomes easy. So when you are practicing questions, do try to understand the question, do try to understand the focus of the question, what exactly has been asked in that question. Because if you write haphazard answers, then it won't fetch marks at all. Next important thing in public administration as well as general studies is interlinking of the concepts. When we are appearing for public administration specifically, if you are writing a particular answer from 1 or 2 dimensions only, the range of marks that you would get out of, for example, 20 marks would be approximately 4 to 5 marks. But if you write the same answer from a number of dimensions, from at least 7 to 8 dimensions, the chances of getting marks in a high range is very high. For example, you can get marks in the range of 12 to 14 out of 20 marks. So interlinking of the concepts is very important. This is applicable similarly to general studies also. Now, moving to general studies, I would recommend candidates to increase their reading speed also, and keep your sources for general studies first of all limited. Read them for a number of time and increase the speed of your reading. What I did for the general studies answers was I increased the fact base of my answers. For example, if you're writing an economy answer, you need to have a comparative analysis of India's GDP with that of China, for example, with that of Australia, with that of America, for example. This would help the examiner to understand that the candidate has a certain amount of fact base. The chances of your getting marks in the exam will be very high. I was able to score approximately 402 marks in my general studies out of 1000 in mains exams, and this was possible only because of the type of answers. The style of answer writing was, I think, better as compared to the last years when I appeared for the mains exam. If I compare my answers with the previous year's exam, I think that my fact base was lacking it was lacking to a greater extent. But when I appeared for 2015 mains, my fact base was extremely good. I was very good at figures. I was very good at flowcharts and graphs. So you need to pen down certain figures, certain facts and certain diagrams on a piece of paper. Keep it revising again and again for a number of times. You can get these figures, facts from Economic Survey, from India Yearbook, from n number of articles that appear in the newspaper also. So fact base is extremely crucial for scoring good number of marks. Now let me come to the ethics paper. This year I was able to score 113 in ethics out of 250, and I think it is considerably good marks as compared to the last years. The most important thing in ethics is to have a specific idea about the vocabulary of ethics. You need to have a clear distinction in between the words. For example, if you need to have a clear distinction in between the word integrity and the word honesty. So vocabulary must be perfect. You need to have a clear understanding of those concepts. You need to supplement those concepts with certain examples. And that is the most crucial thing that I noticed in the ethics paper. Second thing is that most of the candidates started the paper from part 2 of the ethics, that is the case studies. So the amount of time they should have devoted to the first part was very less. They were able to devote only 1 hour for the first part and approximately 2 hours for the second part. And when the examiner starts checking the paper, it doesn't start it from the second part, it starts from the first part. So we need to first have a clear understanding of this thing, that you need to start paper from the first part itself. Try to answer each and every question. First of all, understand the question in a very subtle manner. You need to pen down exact thoughts. Do not write any kind of irrelevant material in the ethics answer, but it would hamper your other answers also. It would hamper your marks in the case studies also. So the most important thing is to first understand the question. Examples are very important in ethics answer as well as in other answers also, particularly public administration. Examples can be from day-to-day lives in the ethics paper. It can be from ARC reports. Some of the examples can be quoted from there also. We come across n number of examples from newspapers. We need to quote those examples also. For example, there was a question on environmental sustainability in the ethics paper. I guess it was the very first question in the ethics paper. What I did for this question was I tried to correlate that concept with the concepts in economy, with environmental sustainability, with certain examples that I could recall at that point of time from the newspapers that I have read, some of the examples from ARC reports, etc. So the most important thing that is crucial here is focus on examples. Another important thing, I guess, during the course of preparation for general studies, mains as well as the prelims, is that you need to analyze the question papers for at least 10 to 20 years of the past question papers. The question paper helps to understand the trends of the question, what kind of changes they are expecting, and even in the answer writing also, what changes are expected in the type of questions that would appear in the next year's paper. So analysis of the question paper is extremely crucial. Most important thing other is you need to memorize the syllabus. If you are talking about the optional syllabus, you need to have a clear understanding of what exactly is there in the syllabus of paper 1 as well as paper 2. This will help you at the very moment of writing the answer. The interlinking of the concepts here would be easily done if you have a clear understanding of what exactly is the syllabus. Similar is the condition with general studies. If we are talking about the second paper, that is the polity paper of general studies, the second paper, when most of the candidates score less marks, then the major the major aspect I think is they lack a clear understanding of the syllabus or the content of that paper. So content of the paper is very important. Syllabus memorizing is very important. When you write particular piece of answer, you need to correlate those with the various concepts in that very paper. Let me come to the interview aspect. I had Arvind Saxena sir as the chairman of the board, and the board consisted of 5 members. The interview went approximately for 40 minutes, and I was able to score 154 out of 275, which is a pretty less score. And what I think went wrong in my interview was a lack of preparation of my resume or the detailed application form. So my most important advice to the candidates who clear the mains exam is to have a good understanding of your own self, the detailed application form. At the same time, keep a track of the newspapers for at least 4 months, 3 months before your interview. Now coming to the newspaper reading, which is considered to be the most important part, as far as my knowledge is considered or my strategy is considered, I did not focus on newspaper that much. I focused on reading articles online from various websites, for example mrunal.org, Insights on India, GS Core, IAS Baba, as well as the IDSA website. So reading of n number of articles helped me jot down critical points on a piece of paper, which I was able to use in my answers while writing answers of public administration as well as the general studies. So if you are reading the newspaper, please read it for at least 1 hour. Don't waste your time on newspaper reading for 3 to 4 hours a day. Be very, very specific in your preparation. Plan a preparation in a very strategic manner. Newspaper reading is a good habit, but recollecting that information, just the newspaper reading is not important, but if you are able to gather that information, if you are able to use that information in an answers, then and then only newspaper helps. If you think that newspaper reading would not help you that much in your preparation, please go for reading variety of other articles. Try to understand those articles online and try to jot down the important points from that article. For example, I have a habit of reading the IDSA website, that is the Indian Defence Studies Analysis website, which has a good range of articles related to the international relations of India, the other issues of internal security. So I was able to clearly understand the topic in one single article, because the articles in these websites are written by various experts in the domain. They have a domain expertise. So the information that has been given in these articles is extremely good, and you can pinpointedly use that information in your answers wherever it is relevant. Now coming to again to the aspect of answer writing, I think interrelation of concepts is one thing. The second important thing is you have to have a clear understanding of the syllabus and use those concepts in your answers. For example, you are writing an answer of public administration. The most important thing is that how to utilize general studies also in your public administration answers. Because if you're writing political sciences answers, public administration, these have a clear-cut connection with the general studies also. So don't waste your information. Try to use that information as much as possible. If you're reading the ARC reports, the Administrative Reforms Commission reports, you can utilize those reports in public administration as well as you can utilize those reports in a general studies also. So this was all about my strategy for the optional subject, the prelims as well as the interview, and I hope that the strategy helps you all. Please have a very specific planning of at least 1 year before your prelims as far as the prelims, mains and interview is concerned. Thank you all for your time and thank you very much to GS Core.